Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm audible. I'm visible. Okay. We'll wait for 5 minutes. People are still joining in. Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay. Yes, Hardeep. In this context, it would be the same thing. See, ICTA is not a. I'm coming to that. It's not a new concept. It's a Turkish or a Central Asian concept which was introduced and organized by him in India. So I'm coming to that. That is the first thing we will discuss. So very simply, uh, organize, introduced, same here. I'm just waiting for the requisite number, then we'll begin. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. 1 more minute. We start at 2:08. Still, the number is a little bit down. Okay. So we've discussed political history. Now we need to go into administration. In administration, there are two parts. One is ICTA, the other one is terminologies. Now, because you're fresh, I will do first ICTA so that you understand it. This is understanding based. This is more ratification. So I will deal with ICTA first and make you understand what is ICTA in that regard. Now, please pay attention because this is a very critical concept. If you understand this, then you will understand Nayankara also and also understand Mansabdari system. ICTA system. First things first and very straightforward. Not a new concept for Iltutmish, but a Turkish Central Asian concept of administration. Concept of administration, however, introduced in India for the first time by Iltutmish. So it's an ancient concept. It's a concept which was already there in Central Asia, but was not in India. Was introduced by the what we call as Iltutmish administration, and organized means that he was the one who gave it proper structure in India. ICTA is very simply the backbone of Delhi Sultanate General and Revenue Administration. Now, what is therefore ICTA? Now, what happens is that the whole Delhi Sultanate, please pay attention now, the whole Delhi Sultanate was divided into two parts. The first part is called Kharaj, and the second part is called Ikta. It's called Ikta. Now, the feature of Kharaj is that this is called crown land, and all the revenue of this area was sent to the central treasury. Officers received salaries to collect taxes from this area. Now tell me one thing. The best land of the empire or the worst land of the empire would be under Kharaj? The best. So most fertile tracts under the Kharaj, and that would mean very simply the Doab region. So to give you a more visual perspective, if this is Delhi Sultanate, then you have the Ganga and Yamuna Doab. This sector, Doab, this would be Kharaj, most fertile, and all revenue to the king, to the Sultan. To the Sultan. For example, 3 lakh tanka is getting generated, which is 3 lakh silver coins. Now, anybody has any issue with Kharaj? Crown land makes sense. No issue? Okay. Now, what the Delhi Sultanate rulers did, what Iltutmish did was, he thereafter divided the whole empire into iktas. Kharaj equals to royal land, yes. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. This is called an ikta. Now, the ikta has a very interesting story. Ikta is technically called a revenue assignment allocated to the officers of the Delhi Sultanate. Yes, silver coin. Of the Delhi Sultanate in lieu of salary. Think of it like a land grant to the officers. Till this point, is it a new concept then? Is it a new concept? No. Conceptually, if officer A, B, and C are there, A, B, and C are there. I have to give him 10,000 tanka as salary, 2,000 tanka as salary, 3,000 tanka as salary. Rather, I can give them straight away silver, or what I can do is that I can give them each of them one ikta, GHI. This generates revenue equal to 10,000. This generates revenue equals to 3,000. This generates revenue equals to 2,000. Now, what I will do is I will allocate this to him, allocate this to him, allocate this to him. And very simply, salary equals to revenue. Now, if this is the structure which the Delhi Sultanate follows, would it lead to decentralization? Process of allocation is the whims and fancies of the king. Basically, accountants know what revenue comes from each of the iktas. Whoever owes that equal amount is given that ikta. So, if this was the structure, would it not introduce decentralization? Yes or not? Yes, possibly, plausibly, if it is a land grant to an officer. This was what the Satavahanas did, this is what the Guptas, this is what the post Guptas did. But the Ikta has certain safeguards. Now, there are certain safeguards. Now you see how. When an Ikta is allocated, you allocate it to an Iktadar, or it's called Mukti Wali Khut Mukaddam. These are the words which are used. Mukti and Wali are words for big Iktadar. And if you're a small Iktadar, you are called a Khut and Mukaddam. Small Iktadar. Iktadar. Now, okay. Now, very simply, there are certain responsibilities and certain duties which you have to perform. When Ikta is allocated, there are responsibilities and duties, and there are certain rules. There are certain rules. Responsibility is general administration, has nothing to do with Chelgani. Iqtidar is not equal to Chelgani. Ankit, don't overthink it now. I'm not using the term very strategically. If I don't think, don't confuse yourself. I am not trying to do that. Iqtidar has nothing to do with Chelgani. Iqtidar is an officer, like an IS officer. General administration of that area, collect revenue from that area, keep law and order in check. The duties are more interesting. Duties also maintain a small army contingent and any revenue which is in excess of your salary, send it to the central treasury. To check this, You had accountants who tally revenue and salary every season or every month. Now, if I look at this, still, is there any chance or possibility to become a local power center? Is there any chance to become a local power center? Yes, because the feudatories did have their army. Fragmented armies always were there. So very simply, he is having general administration, is collecting revenue. After a point, he would not send the revenue. He can very simply do something so as to undercut the power of the king itself. There is still a little bit of chance of decentralization. But all ways to, or all possibilities of decentralization were undercut because of three rules. It is non-hereditary, it is temporary posting, it is non-permanent, and it is transferable. By the rules, very simply, a very decentralized model of control can now be used very effectively without causing decentralization. So very simply, if there's an ICTA, for example, of 10,000 tanka, and there's an ICTA of 5,000 tanka, if A has been appointed here, his salary will be equal to 10,000 tanka. He, vis-a-vis B, who has been appointed and his salary is 5,000 tanka. One thing is very sure. A can be removed, B can be removed, they can be transferred, and A's son or B's son, A's son or B's son are not eligible to be iqtidars. And within this salary, also maintain army. So very simply, it is non-permanent, transferable, and it is non-hereditary. So the most, see, salary A, please understand this, salary or ICTA can be reduced, removed, altered, modified at any given moment or time. This is not your democracy, wherein you will go to some cat and say, or the Supreme Court and High Court, that how did he reduce my salary? No. The king does not like your face, he shakal pasand nahi hai, he can reduce your salary. Everything is at the disposal of the Sultan. So again, no democratic notions are going to be there. They are hierarchical. Yes, you have a big iqtidar, a small iqtidar. So if, for example, he would be called, for example, a mukti or wali, and because his salary is low, he could be called a khut mukaddam. So it is a concept of hierarchy, but hierarchy is based on how big an ikta you get. So the hierarchical concept is implied within it. If you understand what is iqtidari, I will bring ikta and kharaj together in one slide and write everything down. Are you now understanding how Delhi Sultanate rulers, very simply, were able to use a decentralized control system without any form of fear of decentralization? Isn't this the same thing which are post Gupta early medieval rulers doing? Wasn't it the same thing? Land grant in lieu of salary. Land grant in lieu of salary. Is the same thing or not? If you look at ICTA at face value, it is a land grant for lieu of service. You are providing service to the state, it is giving you a land grant. This exact thing was there previously also. But the three main things which was very, very different was the fact that they basically used a Mauryan level centralization through a decentralized model itself. Because what it does is, if I'm a sultan, why would I want ICTA? Tell me, why would I want an ICTA system in place? Why would I want an ICTA system? You tell me. No, not money. To increase empire? No. To pay loyals? Effective administration? Sure. To safety? I'm looking for a word. Why would I use such a model? Okay, three things. It is simple. There is no headache of day-to-day administration, and there is no cash flow. Understand this point. There is no cash flow. The advantage of this point is, if I allocate this area to A, the day-to-day administration is the headache of that iqtidar. I don't have to give cash salary, so even I can have lakhs of tankas flowing from this sector to Delhi, but I am not spending this 3 lakh tanka. And more than that, I am also getting an army out of it without actually worrying about how that money is going to come out of it. If I say to you that you have become an IAS officer and your salary will be based on the fact that how much money you can extract from a district, will you extract less or more? You will extract more. And if I say to you, once you have extracted 1 lakh rupees, every rupee which you extract after that point, you have to send it to the treasury. Then what will you do? You will exactly extract 1 lakh, because less than that is your less than that is your loss, more than that is the gain of the king. So the burden of the peasantry is also not much. And if by chance there is a lot of salary which comes through, or a lot of revenue which comes through, the accountant will automatically show that, see, he extracted 1.2 lakhs and he only sent, he did not send the 20,000 rupees to the central treasury. So if you profit, you will be caught. If you are not efficient, you lose your salary. So you are on your toes always. Now you will say, sir, what if there is corruption? Valid question. What if there's a corruption? Iqtidar shows something, does something else. Can there be corruption in the system? Why can there be no corruption? Some of you are saying yes, some are saying no. Why no corruption? The reason why there can be corruption is because that is human tendency. But the reason why this system did not become corrupt is two reasons. First, spies. But second, corruption equals to death. You think Alauddin Khilji or Balban will come and ask you, why did you do it? You'll be cut into pieces and thrown in the same land. So here the deterrent is actually death. It's not a democratic system. You will not ever go against the king, because if he gets to know, which he will get to know, it means death. And therefore, Ikta system was using a model which was already there, but the Turkish administrative setup had safeguards or checks and balances which did not make this system extremely decentralized. So, can I bring both the slides together, Kharaj and Ikta slides together, as a form of consolidation? Yes? Okay. So, very simply, the Delhi Sultanate was divided into two parts: Kharaj, Ikta. This is crown land. Revenue is sent to the central treasury. King gets all of the share. Most fertile land. No officers will get salary from revenue. They are later given out of central treasury. So very simply, when the money is flowing, it will flow into the treasury later for the service. Very simply, here the tax collector is given salary after job is done. Now, what is then Ikta? Rest of the empire is divided into revenue assignments according to revenue generated. Iqtidar, once allocated an Ikta, will have to collect revenue, general administration, revenue administration, law and order, maintain army, send excess revenue to the central treasury, However, you can be, or rather not you, Iqtidar can be transferred non-permanent posting, non-hereditary, transferable. Does this make sense? Come on. Anybody has any issue? Please, if you will not understand this, you will not understand Nayankara. If you will not understand Nayankara, you will never understand Mansabdari. Kharaj is nothing but the land from which the revenue is collected by an officer who will be paid a salary later. It is the crown land. All revenue goes to the king. Nothing goes to anyone else. Here, the revenue is not going to the king, but is actually going to the pocket of the Iqtidar. Iqtidar then basically does everything, and that is the advantage of that. What is the sentence? What is the next right side, next bullet point? Tax collector is given salary after job is done. Revenue sent to central treasury. Crown land, king gets all the share. Most fertile land, no officer will get salary from the revenue. They are later given out of central treasury. ICTA is divided into revenue assignments according to revenue generated. Non-permanent posting. Iqtidar once allocated, and Iqtidar once allocated ICTA will have to collect revenue, do general administration, revenue administration, law and order. However, he also has to maintain a army, send excess revenue, non-hereditary, transferable, non-permanent. Iqtidar can be transferred. Right? Both the type of lands are different in fertility. Shubham, mostly best land will never be given into ICTA. That much dumbness the state is never going to do. That one dumbness the state is never going to do. It will always keep the best land under Kharaj. Is this making sense? Come on, have to be more vocal. Yes, no. Okay. Now, why Iqtidar needs to maintain army? Because the king likes it. That question is something, it is part of the system. Why does the sun need to come up in the morning? That is what you're actually asking me. Very simply, that is the point of having an army at your disposal. The state is not dumb. It will never give you so much power without extracting equally from you. So that cannot be the case, right? That's the basic point. ICTA is bringing as much possible from the arid land. Not necessarily. See, if your salary is 10,000, then they can't give you an ICTA which is at 5,000, right? That much injustice the king will not do. You can be reduced, but you will always be given a land which is equally good in that regards. So very simply, you will be given a land which more or less matches your salary. If the state wants to punish you, they can do something else. Kharaj land also used to know why. Saurabh, tell me one thing. Did I say that one person is responsible for crown land? Did I say that, Saurabh? No. Then how can there be an army obligation on crown land? On one person or on two person? The state is paying for its army through the central treasury. This very simply is like consolidated funds of India. Center's money. So it will get everything what the centers owes with regards to it. ICTA is revenue assignments. See, you need to understand one thing. Do you understand the advantages? I'll give you a very simple example. Very simple example. I am A, my salary is 5,000 tanka. Now, please pay attention. Stop typing. Pay attention. Stop typing. Because then you'll ask me questions but we already discussed. My salary is 5,000 tanka. There are two ways the state can give me money. The first way is the center goes to district B, sends an officer there who will extract 50,000 tanka from that area. Then he will give it to the central treasury. Then the central treasury will process this 50,000 tanka. Then thereafter, an accountant will transfer me that money back, 5,000 tanka, out of the central treasury. At this point of time, I am paying one officer here I'm paying the accountant here, paying him a salary. So very simply, I'm for transferring 50,000, for transferring 5,000 tanka, I have incurred the officer for 1,000 tanka here and 2,000 tanka here. So very simply, I incurred in sending 50,000 tanka to you, 3,000 tanka. This is what, for example, Ashoka would do, which is this is a centralized model. But the Delhi Sultanate rulers are not dumb. What they rather do is they would allocate a area or district which is E, whose revenue is equal to 5,000 tanka. By doing that, no need for officer, save 1,000, and no need for accountant, save 2,000. So for giving you 50,000, I got three things. Saved 3,000 tanka, no headache of extracting that 5,000, and army is also maintained in same 5,000 tanka. Are you now getting the point? What would you choose? What would you choose? The decentralized model or the centralized model? You tell me. Use your economic logic. You tell me which model would you use? Centralized model or decentralized model? Decentralized model. But the problem is that in this decentralized model, there is a chance that this officer becomes too powerful. That is the problem, right? What is the problem with decentralized model? What is the problem with decentralized model? The problem is that he can become too powerful because basically I'm giving him a land grant. So what the Delhi Sultanate rulers did, very simply, was they said that this is temporary and you cannot cheat. And more than that, your son or his son won't get it. If you are too smart, removed or transferred. If the same concept could have been applied by the Satavahanas or the Guptas or the post-Guptas or the early medieval rulers, maybe India would never had a fragmented political structure. Now, are you getting why is Ikta a master stroke? Are you now understanding the concept that Ikta is all which is decentralized, but with the advantages of being a centralized model? Iktedari is, or Ikta is, having the following advantages. Do not need to spend on revenue or general or basic administrative center or officer at district level. No headache of day-to-day administration. Army is maintained in fragmented fashion but for free. And fourth, easier, simpler, decentralized model with no fear of fragmentation. One tanka is one silver coin. Now, does this make sense? Does ICTA make sense to everyone? Come on. Clear? If this is clear, I'll read it out of the PPT and then I want to just go to the terminologies and finish this point. Disadvantages, as of right now, there's nothing. There's no disadvantage. And if I say to you that Firoz Shah Tughlaq made it hereditary, now get the point why Firoz Shah Tughlaq destroyed the whole system. But because as soon as you add or make it hereditary, then very simply you've removed all the check and balances. And that is why Firoz Shah Tughlaq is considered single-handed reason why Delhi Sultanate declined. Because he did not understand the strength of the system. The strength of the system was non-permanent, hereditary, transferable. As soon as in order to appease his generals and his nobles, he made it hereditary, he very simply destroyed the system. So understand this point. One second. Till Firoz Shah Tughlaq, the model was non-hereditary. He made it hereditary. Done. Come on. Abhinav, you can download the NCRT. It's available online. Okay. So let's read it out of the PPT. The agricultural and revenue systems of the early Turkish sultans rested on two foundations. Ikta, land revenue; Kharaj, land revenue. This is assignment of land revenue. This is Kharaj. Ikta system was provided institutional status by Iltutmish. Under Ikta system, the land of the empire was divided into several large and small tracts called Ikta and assigned these Iktas to its soldiers, officers, and nobles. The duty of the Muktis is the nothing but Iktadar, was to lead military campaigns, maintain law and order in their Iktas. In exchange of military services, the Muktis collected revenues from their assignment as salary. They also paid their soldiers from this revenue. Care was taken that the Mukti collected only the taxes prescribed by the state and he kept the required number of soldiers also. Further, accountants were appointed by the state to check the amount of revenue collected by the Muktis. There were two types of iktas, large and small iktas. The holder of large iktas could be as big as provincial governors who also had administrative responsibilities. The smaller ones called Khut and Mukaddam had no administrative responsibilities and were only given smaller tracts of land. The Delhi Sultans used the Ikta system to destroy the Samantas, the old feudatories, the ones who were not ready to pay any taxes. Their land was allocated to an officer. The officer would then go hand twist that feudatory and take out money out of him. Zamindars either helped or were crushed by the system itself. And therefore, Sultan's administration took three basic types of taxes. On cultivation, kharaj, 50% of produce; on cattle and house, ghari, chari, and the land tax. In the beginning, Ikta was based upon salary. Firoz Shah Tughlaq made it hereditary. This is exactly what is written in Satish Chandra and plus NCRT mix. So, is this clear? Come on. Is this clear? Ikta. Were there any other authority to check Iqtidars? What are they doing? How they are performing? Because Delhi Sultanate was big. See, Dharmendra, there is. It's not a very. See, understand one thing. It's a system which is elaborate. That much level of detail you don't need to go, but obviously there is. If you see the biggest, I'll give you a very simple example. If your administration is bad, would the revenue be equal to what the state has projected? No. So aren't you actually exposing yourself to problems by not being disciplined? Because the state will ask for revenue. So isn't it a self check system? That's the base. Try to understand this point. This is the beauty of this system. This is why Iqtidar system is so sophisticated but so simple. That is the basic point. Today, for example, I'll give you a very simple example. Today, I give you a concept that you have to provide me 20 questions every day, right? And if you don't provide me 20 questions, I will take 20 questions from you. So if you are not making it, then you are paying it. So in a way, either you pay for it or you do it yourself. So if your administration is bad, then automatically your revenue is lower. If revenue is lower, then you cannot sustain the army. And the army is, Alauddin Khilji will say, send the army to me. And if he said that I am expecting 50,000 people or 5,000 soldiers, and you send 3,000 soldiers, then he will get to know. And the day he gets to know, you will automatically be transferred or removed. So it's a system which is having checks and balances within it only. That is the point. This is a system, if used in the most effective way, can be very, very effective in revenue administration, in general administration. Clear, everyone? Is this making sense? You want to ask me something other, you can want to call and ask me something more intricate, you are not able to articulate yourself, feel free to do it. That is why the feature is there. So very simply, now Vivek, you tell me one thing. This is the question which Vivek has sent. I'll be very happy to forward it to everyone. This is the problem, Vivek. You will not concentrate. Now you tell me, what should I answer in this? What is the answer to Vivek's question? Is Vivek, you tell me, is it a welfare state? Is it a welfare state? Is it a welfare state? Doesn't seem me. It isn't not a welfare state. The monarchies are welfare states. You tell me. Monarchies are welfare states. Dictatorships are welfare states. Firstly, irrelevant. Even if there were, what will you do with this information? Second, inherently, it is a sultanate. It's like asking a question, did Samudragupta do good for his people? What is the question? Khairat is there, sure, but Khairat is for religious endowments, not for people. Was Samudragupta a good ruler to his people? How will you check this? You tell me. How do you check this? It's like asking Hitler's policy. That was Hitler having welfare measures for his people. It's firstly, Vivek, this is why I've seen you trying to overthink. And that reflects in the questions also which you solve. The simple point of the matter is, where did you get this idea from? I want to know right now. I actually want to know. Whilst teaching Iqtidari, you had no doubt about Iqta, But somehow welfare state, welfare measures came through. Where did you get this idea? I want to know the thought process. Because then, if that is the case, I will always answer this question. Where did I say welfare? You tell me. Sometimes I tend to not look at the question, but every time that's not possible. So that is why I'm asking you, what is the thought process? Because once I'll move forward, then you'll ask me about Ikta. Then I have no other option but to ignore you. Because then everybody's moved forward and you are then going backwards. It's not to point out only you, but there are a lot of people who do that. This breaks the flow. When I'm asking, is Ikta clear to everyone? I'm expecting yes or no. If no, I'm ready to repeat the whole concept. If yes, we will move forward. Yes, no. There was so much money, so I thought there might have been welfare measures. मैं ही गलत हूं. हाँ मैं गलत. No issues. Very good. No issues. There were no welfare measures because the state itself was not based on welfare model. End of story. Okay. Now, terminologies. Now, this is the painful part where I can't help you, but I'll mark which are the ones which you need to remember because they can be asked in match the following questions. First, how is the whole administration divided? You have Khut Mukaddam managing the villages. These are small iqtidars. Above them, you have the Pargana or Taluk, which is very simply managed by Chaudhries and Amil. Amil is basically a revenue collector. Chaudhries are village headmen or headmen. Then you have a district, which is Shik under a Shikdar. And the biggest is called Ikta. Provinces were also Ikta and sometimes given to very important people. Khut Mukaddam, same thing. Same thing. Terminology changes. Now, just to institutionalize this, you have village, Pargana, Taluka, then Shik, and then Ikta. Here you have Khut or Mukaddam, then you have Amil or Chaudhary. Here you have Shikdar, and here you have Mukti or Pali. So please remember, this can be asked vis-a-vis ascending order. If you remember, this is the administrative levels. Administrative level. Anybody has any issue here? No. Okay. Now, you have these different departments which the different nobles hold, and you can be asked this question. For example, you have Diwan A Risalat, but the first most important department is Diwan A Ariz, military department. Ariz, you don't have to remember Diwan, same thing. You just have to know the first word. Second word, Ariz means military department. Then you have a Risalat. This word later becomes Can you tell me the modern word of the word risalat? Modern word which is still today used. Yes, riyasat. Very good. The word riyasat comes out of risalat. So it has two types of meaning. First, as a foreign minister, and either a person who you can appeal to. Department of Appeals. If you have an appeal against someone to the king, you go to the riyasat, Diwane Risalat. So you remember it like that. So here you remember one, you remember two. Then Bandagan. You are in bondage, you are in Bandhan, Bandagan. So slave should automatically come out of Bandagan. So it should be very easy. Then what is a judicial officer in Islam called? Judicial officer. Qazi. Very good. Qaza a Mamlik. Justice. Qazi. So again, this is very easy. Then Istiaq. This is the difficult one because Istiaq, pensions. Thereafter, Mustakharaj, areas. Khairat, as you said, Khairat mein baatna, charity. Kohi, fourth, very important, agriculture. And last, which you need to remember, is Insha. Insha means correspondence. Areas means what the state owes to you. So very simply, Ariz, Insha, Kohi, and you have Ishtiaq. Four words which you need to remember: military, correspondence, agriculture, pensions. Now, fifth one, job. This is correspondence, means internal communication. Internal communication. But the other part of the story, not Kohli, Kohi. Match on the mind still. Kohi, not Kohli. Kohi, Kohi. Kohi. Department of State sometimes very different from what I saw. What I saw. Can you make it clear, sir? What do you mean? Department of State sometimes very something very different. Department of Slaves means that the state has a proper structure of, and this is standard in Islamic states, has a proper structure of selling men for work, for administration, for any purposes. That is the concept of slavery. That is not black slavery. Iltutmish was a slave. Kutubuddin Aibak was a slave. Malik Kafur was a slave. Basically, they're bought as men in a market that is the slave market. That's the concept of slavery. Okay. Now, the last painful part is to know who heads these different departments also. So, Wazir till today is used for Prime Minister, but at this point of time, it is Chief Minister who looks after revenue and other departments also. If Ariz means military, the head of the state or the military department is called Ariz a Mamlik. Mamlik mostly means officer. Then Qazi, everybody knows, legal officer. Vakil, Vakil e Dar. First, this is the one, royal household. Very simply, he looks out how everybody is staying, how the Sultan is staying, how his wives are staying, everybody staying in the right way or not. Then Barid. Barid means a person who is basically news, or sometimes Barid is also used for spies. So internal news comes from the Barids. Then there's a word which is a little bit difficult because it has a certain flow. Mushrif e Mumamlik, accountant general, very important. You have three as yes, Sadar us Sudur. Three. Sadar us Sudur and Sadar e Jahan. Now this is where UPSC will play with you. Amir is festivals. Majlis means how everything is taken care of when it comes to his friends and his officers. Dahir does not matter to us. Rather, if you want, you can remember Dahir because it's correspondence. Dahir a Mamlik will head which department? Come on, we are revising. Which department will be the head of royal correspondence? Dahir a Mamlik is the head of which department? Very good. Insha. Insha is Department of Correspondence. So he's the head of he's the head of Insha. Very good. Now, how are these two people different? Sadar us Sudur, religious matter endowments. Sadar e Jahan, officers in charge of religious and charitable endowments. Now, very simply, this is dispute redressal. This is allocation. When you allocate, Sadar e Jahan. When you have a dispute, you go into Sadar e Sudur. Now, you just have to write these down once and it will come to you. Either remember one word: Dahir, Barid, Wakil, Sudur, Jahan, Munshrif. Don't have to learn the whole thing, but this is the only difficult part out of the whole discussion with regards to Delhi Sultanate. So I hope you will be able to manage this. If you manage Mauryas, you can manage this for sure. Yes? Can I move forward? Yes, no, I have to say something. You get a break after the discussion on market reforms. Difficult is a relative word. Yes, they are difficult, obviously, but equally difficult as Mauryas, equally difficult as Guptas. Just have to add it to your repository. Now, let's talk about economy. Now we are going a little bit totally different area. Amir e Dad. Where is written public prosecutor? Public prosecutor means he will represent you in front of the king if you need representation. Public prosecutor still exists. Okay, now since the morning, political history, ICTA terminologies. Anybody has any issue? Say right now or forever hold silent. Come on. I'm as of right now telling you, you have any doubt, anything, I'm ready to answer. Any question. It's done. This you will get in the annotated PPT, so don't have to worry. I've marked the ones which you have to remember. Okay. Now, the rise of the Delhi Sultanate was very, very advantageous or gave a lot of opportunities to certain sections of the society. See, Delhi Sultanate, two departments will or two sectors will actually come up very quickly. One is textile, the other one is construction. Why textile? Because the Delhi Sultanate rulers, coming from the tradition which they came from, they used to wear a lot of stitched clothes. See, in India, we have a tradition of cloth. We make one of the best cloth in the world, but stitching was something which was quite limited. So you have dhoti, you have sari, angavastram, but stitched proper jacket, trouser, something like that was not that common with the royalty. So weaving and stitching was something which caught up very quickly because Delhi Sultans had, along with their nobility, with the new population which is coming into India, lot of demand for stitched proper, what we call as Islamic clothing, or what we call as standard their Central Asian stitching techniques and ideas coming through. There was a major sector which opened up. The second is construction, because every ruler of the Delhi Sultanate made some city, or for sure. Kutubuddin Aibak made the Kutub complex. Iltutmish, again Kutub complex involved. Alauddin Khilji had Siri. You have Tughlaqabad, you have Adilabad, you have 3 cities, 4 cities being made, irrigation work, construction work, minars, this, that, multiple things. And both need a lot of labor. So where will the labor come from? And herein lies the concept of upward mobility. Upward mobility during this period. See, because of notions of purity in India, based on Varna, caste, whatever you want to say, certain sections of the society were not allowed to either get involved in stitching or in cloth production, or maybe not having certain avenues of work. Maximum they got agriculture. But the Delhi Sultanate, sultans, nobles, don't care about the Varna system. They're separate, different religion altogether. This allowed for fourth Varna, lower castes, and socially excluded classes to work in textile and in construction. And through economic opportunity, they were able to move upwards in economic ladder and very limited social upliftment. The social is still controlled by the Brahmins and the caste system and the Varna system of India. But economically, they were able to very simply change their status. From agricultural labor, they were able to become what we call as either construction labor, construction specialists, skill men, mistris, or they were able to get involved in weaving parts of the whole textile industry itself. So very simply, the rise of the construction and textile sector allowed for upward mobility during the Delhi Sultanate period. And because the Delhi Sultans were also investing so much in irrigation, agrarian expansion happened. With agrarian expansion, even more need for labor. And therefore, these 3 sectors, labor demand started to increase. And with labor demand going up, upward mobility became possible for certain sections of society. And as it is previously, would it be a right way to say that previously there was a nexus between the king and the priest? Yes. Now, if that is the case, with the Islamic sultans coming through, where does the priest go? So, very simply, the stronghold of the Vedic, Brahmanistic, Buddhist, Jain, whatever it may be, over the state came through or went down. And that allowed for a little bit of breathing room within the society itself. But this is only true for men. This is only true for women. For men, I will tell you what happens to women. Equally, this is a period of urbanization and cosmopolitanism. Cosmopolitanism means multiple cultures, coming together. And urbanism would very simply mean new cities, new ideas, and new construction was happening. So economically, in a way, Delhi Sultanate was able to foster a lot of prosperity in India, and multiple different cities, constructions, and upward mobility of the men of the vulnerable sections of society was possible. If we are clear with this, I'll give you a break here because I want you to concentrate in market reforms. So I want to give a break here only. Cosmopolitan means melting pot, unity in diversity, multiple different cultures together. Because the Mongols had more or less destroyed the Central Asian sector, Delhi Sultans or Delhi became like a place where Iranian, Iraq, even from the what we call a Syrian sector, a lot of scholars migrated to Delhi because that was the only place the Mongols could not touch them. Right, great. So the priests go back to their own structures, but they have no influence on the state now. So the state and priest network is now gone. Okay, so jizya I've already discussed with you, Ankit. Jizya is a tax collected by Islamic sultans from non-Muslim population for rule and protection, introduced by Kutubuddin Aibak. Yes, the ritual preaching, yes, ritualistic kingship became less significant, and very simply, Buddhism and Jainism, Samishta went down as soon as Puranic Hinduism came through, and Buddha was absorbed into the Dashavatar concept of Lord Vishnu. Okay, can I take a break here? Okay, so it is what, 3:17. We come back at 3:30, and 1.5 hours we will discuss three very important concepts: market reforms, the concept of what we call as uh, four experiments, and we will enter Vijayanagara Mahamani. So I'll see you at 3:30. See you. Welcome back. Okay. Can I start again? Okay. Everyone's with me till this point. No issues generally. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Now, what we are going to do now is called Alauddin Khilji market reforms. Very important section. Now, please try to understand this. It would be right to say that the Khiljis or the Delhi Sultanate had a Mongol threat. Is it a right way to say it? Yes, multiple personalities, multiple threats. Now, in order to respond to a threat like Mongols, what is the solution? What is the solution? How do you deal with a threat like Mongol threat? Diplomacy, yes. Other than that, diplomacy, army, appeasement, unity, strong border, strength, trade. So very simply, you need a big standing army, a big standing army. Other than appeasement, you need a deterrent, and that deterrent is a big standing army. Standing army means cannot be feudatory or based on iqtidars. So very simply, numerically big standby army is important. What, like today, what we have? Today, what we have? We have a very good, strong, standing military. But to have an army or to have a military which is just waiting to fight, what is the biggest issue with that? What is the biggest issue with that? Money, logistics, salaries. Because they are not fighting, they are just waiting. The biggest issue is how do you pay them and how much money can be mobilized. Can be mobilized. It's like, how can you mobilize the money? So we all agree that Alauddin Khilji took a decision that I want to have a standing army, and his decision was constrained by considerations of money. Now he has two options: either give the men recruited very good salaries which are relevant in Delhi, which is that if the cost of living is 200 tanka, can the Sultan give less than 200 tanka? Can the Sultan give less than 200 tanka? he has to match cost of living. But what is the problem with this option? What is the problem with this option? What is the problem with this option? It's a burden on the treasury. It's a burden on treasury. That if I have 1 lakh army and if I'm giving them 200 tanka, then I have to give them a certain amount of money. This is cost of living. I have to give them a certain amount of money, and that has to be given. That cannot be offsetted. So very simply, that money cannot be offsetted. So therefore, cost of living has to match with the salary. Salary has to match with the cost of living. This is the first option which Alauddin Khilji has. However, there's one more option. Give them very low salaries, but bring down cost of living to that salary. Which is that I only want to give salary of 100 tanka, but in order to give that salary, cost of living should equal to be 100 tanka. And that this can only be done through what? Through price control. So in one option, I am allowing the cost of living to dictate salary, and in the other one I am making salary will dictate cost of living. Which is better? Which is better? Any day B. Now, we all have agreed that price control is the best option. Removes burden on treasury. Now, first things first. Before I talk about Alauddin Khilji market reforms, I know you all are economists. I know you all are very good at economic systems, no less than Raghu Ram Rajan. You understand how inflation works, how deflation works. You understand what is concept of distortion of market. You understand how price control, demand, and all these things interact with each other. You understand export. You all are very good at it. I agree with you. 110%, 500%. No doubt at all. But for the next 15-20 minutes, I want you to take that economist from you out and keep it on the side. So वहीं बैठा के रखना. Keep it in the side. Because as soon as I will start to say what did Alauddin Khilji do, you will send me messages. Sir, but it would then distort the market. What about inflation? This cannot be done. It is not fair. Alauddin Khilji doesn't care. First, fairness is not what you decide. Second thing, whatever top word you are using, inflation, deflation, this, that, you are using modern economic terminologies. And for medieval India, market manipulation is not something new or totally out of the box or revolutionary or distorting the market. So for the next 10-15 minutes, Keep your economic logic aside. If you can do that, I'll be happy to tell you how this system works. We all can agree? Because I know whatever point you're making is valid, 110% valid. But the validity does not stand because it is not modern day economics. That's the only thing. If everybody is an agreement, sure. If you cannot agree, then for the next 15-20 minutes, just sunna, because then it will be problematic for you. Because it is the same way it happens. And remember, it does not need to be just, because it does not work like that in medieval India or ancient India. Right? Okay. Now, to control the price of something which is being sold at Delhi, Alauddin Khilji needs to control 3 points. Alauddin Khilji needs to control 3 points. One, at the producer, second, at the distributor, and or rather the transportation, and third, which is the retailer. In the sense, either he has to control all three, which is producer, which is the transportation or supply, and last is the retailer. Make sense? Because if the producer sells him at a very, very high cost, he can't keep the price down. If the person starts to hoard, then again supply hoarding will lead to price increase. And if the retailer keeps a very high margin, again the price will be very high. So price can be controlled not by one or two, but by all three. Only when you control all three, then only you can control the price at a given place. Agreed? Come on. Agreed. I'm again adding logic to this concept that you never learn it. Okay. Now, what did Alauddin Khilji do for the peasants? Alauddin made sure that the farmer or peasant sells his produce at the cheapest rate possible. For example, if previously he would sell at 1 tanka, or rather, let's take it as 5 tanka per kg, he will make him sell it at 2 tanka per kg. He would give the peasant access to the same market, but he will make him sell it at the cheapest rate possible. Then the people who used to transport from the countryside to the urban centers were called banjaras. Till today they do it. Banjaras are nothing but local merchants or nomadic pastoralist groups which are moving around from place to place. Their responsibility is to bring the grains from the producer to the retailer. Here, Alauddin Khilji, not tribals, they're not always tribals. It's a Banjara is a community in itself. He made them transport at the cheapest rate possible. But what was more important for Alauddin Khilji was the fact that cannot allow hoarding or stoppage. So what he used to do was, when a Banjara used to travel from A to B to A, basically starting from A, going to B and coming back to A, his family was kept hostage. That if the Banjara is going from A, B, A, he will take 5-6 days. The family will be under the watchful eye of Alauddin Khilji's men till he does not come back. This is called deterrence. The family is hostage. He can't run away with the grains. He can't hoard the grains because he has to come back in a certain time period. And if he does not come back in that time period or hoards, I don't need to tell you what is going to happen to the family. You are smart enough. So, in order to compel the Banjaras to be on time and to not hoard, he used extra methods to coerce them through emotional, physical, or any type of force. But the most common was Banjaras cannot hoard because their families were kept hostages with the state itself. Does not matter if it is just or unjust, it is right or wrong. For Alauddin Khilji, it was important that the grain reaches Delhi. Now, very simply, if it started at 2 tanka plus 1 tanka for transportation and it is reaching Delhi at 3 tanka, reaches Delhi at rate of 3 tanka. Anybody has any issue in the first two processes or generally in any other issue? No? Whilst doing all of this, he also did one more thing, which is that he increased Kharaj so that the revenue of the state increases. And now at the retailer level, he will do something very interesting. Can I discuss what did he do at the retail level? So it reached at 3 tanka per kg. Now what he does is he develops 3 markets. He develops 3 markets. One is called grain market, cloth market, animals, and slave market. These are called mandis. Till today, mandi is the one. Now, at these mandis, central list of prices were circulated for each mandi and every product. The shopkeeper cannot sell above the fixed central fixed prices. Now you would say, sir, but how did he check that? Every market has Shahna a Mandi as officer. He's the in charge of Mandi, and over and above that, oh, deleted this. I have to make this again. Sorry. He's like a manager. Yes. I clicked clear all. 1 second. Kharaj land was increased. Revenue increases. Three tanka per kg. One of you asked me what is 3 tanka per kg. That after adding the cost of production and cost of transportation, 3 tanka per kg has come. You have mandi, and one is for grains, one is for cloth, one is for animals and slaves. Central price list is generated and shopkeeper cannot sell above listed price. Shahna a Mandi in charge of Mandi, and his job is to make sure that each of the shopkeeper in each of these mandi is selling at the right price. And in order to make sure that people were not evading the Shehnai Mandi, there were Baride Mandi who were basically spies to pose themselves as what we call as customers and check if the person was ready to sell at a higher price or not. With this, what Alauddin Khilji was able to do was that he was able to fix the price of everything and then accordingly fix the salary and then maintain very high number of soldiers at the same cost. Central price is not decided by Mandi in charge. Central price issued by Wazir. Now, are you understanding the thought process of Alauddin Khilji? He starts with peasants, controls the production there, then keeps the Banjaras under check so as that they don't hoard. And at the Delhi level, he is controlling the mandis so as to make sure that everything is sold at a price through which he can fix the salary itself. Barid Mandi, Shehnai. The words which you have to remember is Barid, Shehna. ABA means from going from point A to B, then coming back to A. Make sense? Market reforms. Yes? Okay. Let's do it from the PPT also. You have the Mongol threat, a series of orders after his return from the Chittor campaign. Alauddin sought to fix cost of all commodities. For the purpose, he set up 3 markets in Delhi, one market for food grains, cloth, horses, and slaves and cattle. Each market had a high officer called Shehnai Mandi and spies called Barid for oversight. Thereafter, he declared that the revenue between the Doab region, that is the area from Meerut to Kara in Allahabad, would be paid directly to the state, Kharaj expansion. Land revenue was raised to half of the produce. Peasants were to sell at the lowest possible rate to Banjaras who were to carry them to the town and sell them at a fixed cost to the state. To ensure no hoarding was there, all Banjaras were registered. Their agents and their family were held collectively responsible for any violations. What type of question can come? Statement based questions. They can ask you firstly what is Shehnai Mandi, what is Barid, and they can generally ask you what is the logic. Generally, they can be statement based questions. I'll give you a type of question which you will be able to see in the end. So I have done ICTA with you, I've done market reforms. Anybody has any issue in these two? Why this type of meaningless? This is not meaningless reform. Sushmita, come on. This is not meaningless reform. The fact that Alauddin Khilji was able to be the conqueror he was, and he was able to protect against the Mongols, was all because of the market reforms. You will see something like this will be done by Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and he will actually totally mess it up. Does anybody have any issue till this point? If the Kharaj land would have increased, then the cost of raw material would also have increased. Then I also have made inflation in the market. Dharmendra, were you listening to what I said? Cost of raw material, inflation, market. Let's go with your logic also. Let's go with your logic also. If I'm looking at a comment right now, the cost of raw material would increase because Kharaj increased. How? How, Dharmendra, give me the relationship between how would Kharaj increase the cost of raw material? What raw material? You need seeds and then you cut the crop. Then that would lead to inflation in the market. So you're talking about push. You're talking about cost push inflation, where the input cost increase. But yeah, yeah, yeah. But what is the input? How does the input cost increase by increasing Kharaj? This is what I'm not able to understand because it makes no sense. There are two different things. State taking more area under Kharaj, how would the input cost increase? Firstly, cost push inflation would matter. These Keynesian notions of inflation won't matter because it does not work like that. This is called price manipulation. There cannot be no inflation because everything is being manipulated. But for 1 second, I want to parlay with you about this also. Can you just link these two to me and then I'll explain to you how? How does Kharaj increase lead to input cost increase? Whilst you think about that, I'll take the other question. I guess he is trying to say that the salaries of the collectors would increase, I guess. But input cost to peasant का होगा ना? The input cost of the peasant. Then how is the state revenue state tax burden, state salary burden increasing and input cost increasing? These are two very different things. Be clear. What are you trying to say? Either it's cost push inflation. Cost push inflation would be for the producer, not for the state. And on the other hand, either it's demand supply issue. So think about it. Think about it. I'm taking one more question. Entral prices management responsibility. Yes, Price management is the responsibility of Shehnai Mandi, in the sense that he checks everybody is following central list or not. Barid also does that. Simply, ICTA land have decreased and production went down. It have pushed the cost of raw material. Why is he making loss in market? 1 minute, 1 second. Maybe is he trying to say that if Kharaj, you read Khatam, but Kharaj increase, then the land will increase, then that increase to loss. First thing, let's answer Shushmita. These are the 3-4 questions in front of me. I will be really happy for somebody to answer them also. This is one. Sushmita is saying this. Sir, see, why would the cost, why is he making loss in market? Tell me one thing. If a shopkeeper is taking a loss, how is it a loss of Alauddin Khilji? Getting my point? He doesn't care. Again, less revenue. Yeah. Peasant is at a disadvantage. It's not that difficult. Banjara is at a disadvantage. Shopkeeper is at a disadvantage. Then their loss isn't it the gain of the state? Yes, Alauddin Khilji is at a profit. Now get it? Even Hardeep, if she is concerned about the tax which Alauddin gets decreased, there's no GST. There's no VAT or GST that because the price is lower, then the GST collection will be lower, then the allocation to the state will be lower, then the GST council will meet and say that we are getting less, then compensate us. Are you getting my point? This is why I told you that keep that economist in the corner. Because what you are now doing is very simple, hardcore price manipulation is happening, and you are bringing in terms such as raw material cost to the state. No one cares. Let the Banjara die. Alauddin Khilji doesn't care about the Banjara. This is how it works. For him, his army should be given 100 tanka and he should be able to buy grains at 3 tanka. He doesn't care who needs to die, intermediary or in from producer to retailer. Yes, he is very simply suffocating the peasant. Yes, he's suffocating the Banjara. Yes, he's suffocating the shopkeeper. But that is what is price manipulation. So tax has nothing to do with production because you are thinking of GST type tax. There is no indirect form of taxation. There's direct form of taxation. But 20-25 minutes I asked to keep that economist aside. Now somehow that person is back. Can I now go to the next topic, which is Muhammad bin Tughlaq's Muhammad bin Tughlaq's 4 experiments? Are you now able to understand where you're actually complicating it for yourself? It's a very simple, straightforward concept. He is manipulating everything everywhere. He's manipulating at the level of producer, at the level of transporter, at the level of market. He's just controlling prices so as to distort the market itself. He's not allowing market forces to flow. It is not a capitalist system of. That is why I told you that your notions won't work only. It is not a capitalist model. This is a proper controlled environment in which the state is working with the economy. First thing you should remember about economics, what modern economics you study is true only for capitalism. That is the basic point you need to understand. This is not a capitalist model of production. There's no haves and have-nots, no workers and bourgeoisie and state and cost and input cost and GDP and nominal and this and that. No. Understand this point, because I have to teach you by the end of the day something called Ray. And again, your economist will come out and then it will complicate things. Can I now discuss Muhammad bin Tughlaq's 4 experiments? Everybody is with me? Are you all understanding this? And this is not that difficult as you think. For once, it is quite simple. Okay, let's go ahead. Now let's come to Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq, very learned ruler. He did 4 acts or experiments for which he is very famous. So let's first look at the first act. Okay, this is the map of India. I am discussing first experiment 1326, just to confirm the date with you so that there is no issue later. 1326 27, 1326 27, yes. Okay, thirteen 26 27. Okay, now please pay attention to, tell me one thing. This is the capital, right? Delhi. Is Delhi in the middle of the empire? No. This is what Muhammad bin Tughlaq also thought. He said, why am I ruling the state from a capital which is not in the middle? By middle, everything should be equidistant. But Muhammad bin Tughlaq forgot one thing. The reason why people used to, or rulers used to actually rule from Delhi was because it was very close from the Indus River. Was very close to the Indus River. And the Indus River was very, very important for them because the Mongols were sitting here. The Mongols were sitting here. But Muhammad bin Tughlaq did not have initial period a lot of pressure. So he says that let's do something funky. He had a master groundbreaking idea. Let's do one thing. Let's shift the capital to Devagiri, which is renamed by him as Daulatabad. And for in his mind, Daulatabad was equidistant to all parts of the empire he used to rule. Forgetting just one thing, that it is quite far away from the Indus River. And now this would explain us why Tamrashirin was able to do what he was able to do, because Muhammad bin Tughlaq was too distracted. Now, when he decides that he will shift the capital from Delhi to Daulatabad, which is the first experiment, shifting of capital from Delhi to Daulatabad, there are 2 issues which he did not take into consideration. First is that he did not take into consideration Mongols, and second, he did not take into consideration rebellions. See, firstly, when he asked everybody from Delhi to get up and go to Daulatabad, half of the people said no. Why would you leave your house and go to a new city? When he said that I will kill you if you don't go, then people started to migrate slowly towards Daulatabad. But he did not realize one thing, that between Delhi to Daulatabad, you have the Vindhya Satpura range, which means that half of the people died on their way to Daulatabad itself. There is no plane to take them there. And the people who reached there somehow have reached to a place which they don't know and became homesick and wanted to go back itself. So half did not leave, half died, and half reached and did not want to stay there. But the biggest issue which Muhammad bin Tughlaq faced was that as soon as he used to reach Delhi, something would used to happen in Daulatabad, so he used to rush to Daulatabad. When he used to reach Daulatabad, something used to happen in the Doab region, so he used to rush to Delhi. Delhi, Daulatabad, and that is why there is a proverbial saying in North India that क्या Delhi to Daulatabad कर रहा है. Basically, Muhammad bin Tughlaq whole 1 year he just did one thing. He traveled to Delhi, then something happened, so he traveled to Daulatabad. Then he reached Daulatabad, he got to know Mongols have come, so he went back to Delhi. Once he reached Delhi, he got to know that somebody rebelled in South India, so he went to Daulatabad. Once he reached Daulatabad, then he got to know again that something happened in Doab region, so he went back to Delhi. Delhi, Daulatabad, Delhi, and Daulatabad, and finally he cancelled this whole project itself. Now tell me one thing. Between this Daulatabad to Delhi and Delhi to Daulatabad and later cancellation, what has he done? What has he done? Tell me. Yes. Firstly, nothing, and he's wasted money. So now you will see what type of scientist he was. First project did not work. Any issues in Delhi to Daulatabad? No. Now comes his second most perfect plan. Second plan, which was actually quite good but did not work actually. Now, second experiment. Now, please pay attention. For this, I need a little bit of confirmation from you. Kashish, that was what I was trying to do. Now, Daulatabad PPT one word in Delhi to Daulatabad loss of revenue. Mongols and rebellions not taken into account, cancelled later. Now, today's money, for example, this whatever I have, yeah, this 100 rupee note. Is this paper worth 100 rupees? Is this paper worth 100 rupees? No. So basically, the worth of this money is just because the RBI governor has signed that I promise the bearer the sum of 100 rupees, which is that if I take this piece of paper, I go to the Reserve Bank of India and tell them, give me something, they will give me 100 rupees worth of something. What is this currency called? What is this currency called? This is called fiat currency, or the other word which is used is token currency. It's a token currency. The value of the, listen to me, the value of the money is not intrinsic to the material of the currency. Listen to me again. Pay attention. The value of the currency is not intrinsic to the value of the material or metal used in the currency. Are the words which are coming out of my mouth making sense? The value of the currency is not linked to the material of the currency. Anybody has any issue? Cool? Perfect. Now, this is called token currency. But if I talk about Tanka and if I talk about Jittal, are they token currencies? No. The value of the Tanka comes from the fact that it is made out of silver. The value of Jittal comes out of the fact that it is made out of copper. Very good, perfect, great. So you understand what is tokenized currency and non-tokenized currency. Here, the value of the currency is intrinsic to the value of the material used, and in modern money, the value is non-intrinsic. So intrinsic, non-intrinsic, which is part and not part. Very good, great. I already told you that you are all economists, so I knew that this would not be a problem. Now, Muhammad bin Tughlaq had a problem. And the problem is that in the 1328 period and throughout 14th century, there was a worldwide shortage of silver. So what was actually happening was that the existing mines were basically drying up and new exploration had not happened. So for example, if one silver tanka was equal to 8 jittals, now one silver tanka was going for close to 20 jittals, which is that you have to give more copper to get one silver. So the value of silver was increasing. And Muhammad bin Tughlaq has a problem. He has to still pay. He still has to find a way. So either he allows for silver to rise in value or he intervenes. And what he does is he intervenes. Nikita, first experiment, Delhi to Daulatabad, cancelled, was not sustainable. Simple. Second experiment, there's a 14th century silver shortage. Silver value is increasing and therefore he needs to intervene. And he intervenes by the concept of a token currency. So what Muhammad bin Tughlaq, which is extremely modern, very forward of his time, what he does is, in his empire, there are now 3 types of coins which are there. He says that I have one tanka silver coin, but he now says that I introduce a bronze coin which will be equal to the value of tanka. So basically, this is the token currency. How is it the token currency? Tell me. Please tell me, how is the token currency? How is it the token currency? the value of bronze is less than silver, but it has been tokenized to be recognized by Muhammad bin Tughlaq as a silver coin. So the value of the coin is non-intrinsic to the value of the coin in the market itself. So he has one jittal which is made out of copper. He has one coin which is a bronze coin which is made out of bronze but is equal to, these coins are equal to each other, and these have more value than the jittal. This is a very interesting way of tackling a problem such as shortage of in what we call as non-tokenized currencies, rather non-tokenized currencies or currencies which have intrinsic value in the metal. So till this point, it seems that Muhammad bin Tughlaq actually knew what he was doing. So the second experiment which he did was to introduce, because of shortage of silver, a token currency in 1328. Anybody has any issue till this point? Anybody has any issue till this point? No? Okay. Please, if it is not making sense, please tell me. You can do that. You can do that. Okay. But now there's a problem. Understand this. 14th century worldwide silver shortage in turn leads to silver value increasing. Muhammad bin Tughlaq needs to intervene. He intervenes via introducing a token currency which is made out of bronze but is actually having the value of a silver coin. Once more, done? Okay, now the problem is, then why would I keep a copper coin then? Bronze is a alloy of copper. So now the people of India, and we are very, very smart in these things, started to do counterfeiting. They took all the copper coin and started to melt them at home, add tin and nickel, and started to make bronze. Yes, still in second experiment. Second experiment is called token currency. First experiment is called Delhi to Daulatabad. So now what happens is, everybody now floods the market with bronze coins which look identical to the coins issued by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So the biggest issue is counterfeit money, which basically is the storyline of Farzi, is what is happening. The simple point is that what has happened is that they have flooded the market with counterfeit money, and therefore the state is not even able to make any way a distinction between the bronze coin issued by Muhammad bin Tughlaq and people's counterfeited one. So the first issue is that because the main alloy material is available as another coin, everybody took away copper and they melted it down and made their own bronze currency. What will be the consequence of something like this? What will be the consequence of something like this? What is the consequence? First, not black money. Come on, not black money. The consequence is twofold. Silver whenever you say inflation, think before what you write. Silver loses its value and copper gains value. Why does copper gain value while silver is losing its value? Why copper is gaining value? Artificial shortage. If everybody is going to take the copper which they have and melt it to make it bronze, and there is less copper coin in the market, copper value will start to go up. And there is more bronze, as you said, would in turn lead to the value of silver going down. Now, if it was not bad enough that he had wasted money in going from Delhi to Daulatabad, this has now messed up the economy. But now the biggest thing is going to happen, which you have not even predicted. But the biggest issue is now he will roll back. He will roll back the currency. He will say what we call as demonetization. He will say, I roll back the currency. I roll back the currency. But rolling back is having a bigger problem. Why? For example, if Muhammad bin Tughlaq issued 50,000 bronze coins, when he said that I take back the money and will give you silver coin, how many bronze coins should he have actually received? He should have received how many bronze coins? 50,000. What happens is he gets 1.5 lakh coins back. And more than that, he cannot make out which one are counterfeit. And now what he will do is he will issue 1.5 lakh silver coins. Drain the economy. In one wrong step, though very modern, by introducing the second experiment, there's a shortage of silver. He introduces a bronze coin, a token coin, which has the value of silver. He brings the value of silver down. He increases the value of copper, creates an artificial shortage of copper, and he drains the treasury of whatever silver they have, because they have to now give it to the people as a form of demonetization. So if you look at it, though a very modern concept, very forward to his period, this has now messed up his economy. Artificial shortage because there was no shortage of copper, but because everybody's copper is now in bronze, there's an artificial shortage. So his second experiment is considered equally problematic. Whilst the first created political and economic issues, this one is purely economic. Anybody has any issue in this? What is token currency? Okay, now let's go to his third and fourth experiment. This is the first two. Shift of capital, Delhi to Daulatabad. Token currency, introduce bronze coins which will have same value as silver. Forged and great loss of market. Copper is bronze means bronze. No, not bronze shortage. Now everybody's converting to bronze. So copper shortage. Shortage of copper means jittal price also increase. Yes. So somehow you see, try to make sense of it. Silver price was falling and increasing at the same point of time. Copper cost was increasing at the same point of time. So Jittal production is equally difficult as much as the difficult to produce a silver coin. So whilst he had one problem, which was silver shortage, he has created a copper shortage also. So he's just fully messed up the whole system itself. Now, the third experiment is called the Khurasan expedition. Khurasan is a place in Afghanistan. And one day, Muhammad bin Tughlaq gets up and he says that the Mongols are coming. Yes. Mongols are coming? Sure, why not? So he says that I want to do one thing. If I'm able to capture Khurasan, then the entry of the Mongols is going to become difficult. So let's capture Khurasan. Very good. Person is a little bit cuckoo, has messed up everything, but this makes sense. Let's trust Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Yes. So what they say, okay, now what? He says, let's do one thing. I want to raise an army of 1 lakh men who will help me capture Khurasan. Okay, good. He does not do any market reform. He says, we have money, money, money. Let's give them the money. Let's not control the prices. Makes no sense. I have money, I'll give it to them. Sure. And then once the army is raised and everything is ready, and his general goes to Muhammad bin Tughlaq and says, sir, we are ready to attack Khurasan. Muhammad bin Tughlaq says, Aaj man nahi. Don't feel like attacking Khurasan today. Ask me tomorrow. The general says, it's been a month. We have not gone to Khurasan. He says, I have very good intel next month. Next month, next month, next month. Muhammad bin Tughlaq feeds, maintains, pays an army of 1 lakh men for 1 year, and then after 1 year, he says, I think we don't need this army. And he calls off the Khurasan expedition. And that is the third experiment. A called off Khurasan expedition which drained the treasury, the salary of 1 lakh soldiers. I know you're silent right now, but that is Muhammad bin Tughlaq for you. If that was not enough, next year, he again gets up in the morning and says, the Chinese are coming. People say, okay, the Chinese are coming. They said, where are they coming from? They are coming from the Karachil Hills in the Kumaon Hill complex. Basically in the Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand sector. And very simply, he says we need to send the army to Kumaon. We need to send army to Kumaon, and we will thereafter fight with the Chinese and also control the horse trade. He sends 50,000 men to the Kumaon Hills with zero zero winter gear, 50,000 go, wait for 6 months, no Chinese come, no horse trade, nothing, and 10,000 come back. And he calls off the Karachil expedition also. These are the 4 experiments of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Token currency, Delhi to Daulatabad, Khurasan expedition, Karachil expedition. His Khurasan expedition is what a lot of students also do in their preparation. Can you tell me how these UPSC preparation and third expedition are linked with each other? No gold coin, Kashish, right now. How UPSC preparation and Khurasan expedition are linked? No, one is procrastination. Yes, Himanshu, very good. Very good, very good. Very good. As Himanshu pointed out, see, what will happen is when you're a very enthusiastic new budding aspirant, you get a book. You'll say, I'll buy this book also. I'll buy that book also. This big stack of books only for history, this big stack for current affairs, this big stack throughout the year, storing every newspaper, clipping, everything. You have multiple books, D.D. Basu, you have Lakshmi Kant, you have the Constitution itself. History, you say, I don't trust, sir. I think there's a better book like, for example, any other Poonam Dalal Daya I'll take this book, that book. Sir, pagal hai. Then you will go economics, 3 books. Current affairs, you're buying from multiple places and keep your table looks like a UPSC aspirant's table. And then 3 months before the examination, you realize that's too much to read. And you will take out Lakshmi Kant, you will take out the NCRT or the PPT, you will take out something, Nitin Singhania, read from the original material given to you, but feels nice that I have all the material which is there. So I hope you will learn from the Khurasan expedition and realize that it's good to have your resources ready, but how you execute it is equally important. Make sense? I think by this you will be able to create a certain type of relation. Karachil is having a hallucination that there is some form of Chinese incursion. No Chinese incursion was there. No trade was there. It was all Muhammad bin Tughlaq's own understanding of it. It's not about reading limited books. It's about reading everything effectively. One book can be read in a better way. You read Lakshmi Kant, but you read it in the right way in that sense. Can I very simply close this topic and believe that you understand Iqta, you understand Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and you understand Alauddin Khilji's market experiments? Everyone, please. Yes? Okay. Now, this is given in the PPT, and you will also have in the unannotated PPT. This is a very interesting comparison which was made by the NCRT. And this tells you the importance of governance. See, the starting point for both Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad bin Tughlaq was that the Mongol threat was there. Both wanted to construct new cities. He did it. He had Siri, he had Adilabad and Tughlaqabad. And both wanted very big standing army. However, now you see how the execution is bad. When he had to have a big standing army, he went for market reforms. He did not do anything, rather went for token currency. And in the end, whilst Alauddin Khilji is considered the greatest ruler, Muhammad bin Tughlaq is remembered as a mad king. So with the same resources, same thing, one student can clear this examination, the other student cannot clear the examination, because it's about execution of your plan, and it's planning. Both have the same exact trajectory, but Alauddin Khilji comes on top of the issue and Muhammad bin Tughlaq messes up this issue. The wisest fool, as he's called. An oxymoron in itself, but the simple point is Muhammad bin Tughlaq did not foresee, did not plan, whilst Alauddin Khilji did. So, with understanding the society, we'll end this module, which is Delhi Sultanate. And what we have to understand is a very simple point. In the social sphere, the biggest problematic aspect was, whilst there is upward mobility, which sometimes also translates to social mobility, and there is amalgamation, mixture of different cultures in India, for women, it is the worst. Again, somehow. Because what happens is that whilst the women had certain access to public spaces, with the rise of another religion, which had its own traits such as parda and other social exclusionary practices, both communities and both religions take out the women out of the public and push them into the private, which is that women should not be seen in the public spaces, they should be seen in private spaces. There should be exclusive access to women. Whilst parda was there within Islam, within the Hinduistic tradition, you now start to get what is called the wheeling tradition, gungar tradition, wherein you do not interact with the society which is outside your own household itself. And therefore, parda and social exclusion became even more intrinsic to the Indian society and generally became a more ubiquitous concept itself. So for the women, their role did not change. There was no upward mobility in economic sense or social sense. They were somehow again becoming the tools of separation of identity. So they can't ask you a question from this area because it's purely theoretical in that regard. But socially, while certain people got opportunities, they got nothing. And with this, we finish we finish Delhi Sultanate module. Now, before I move on and discuss anything else, anybody has any issue with with Delhi Sultanate, political, administrative, ikta, market reform, or other than that, the concept of four experiments? If you have questions, I'll be happy to take them. You can call me if you need to. I'll be happy to take that call also. But if you have questions, we can take them and we can just end this module. Himanshu says, no doubt. If you have a question, type it or call. No issues. Either way. Alauddin Khilji is greatest, but how is he very brutal in nature? I'm not saying he's great in that sense. He's just that he's considered the greatest politically. But he's brutal because he did not care about the society, did not care about the people, he did not care about the intermediaries. He did not care the peasant is suffering or not. That is why he's brutal. Okay. Any other question? There are three doubts. Nobody wants to call? No problem. Expansion wise, yes. Expansion wise. I'm waiting for your doubts. If everything is clear, write yes, and then I can talk about Vijayanagara Bahamani, at least get the context. Market reforms is nothing but controlling peasant production by taking it the lowest cost, controlling the banjaras so as to not allow for hoarding, selling it in very specific mandis, which in turn allowed them to control prices. Central price list was there. Shanai Mandi took care of the mandi. Bari took care of the honesty of these shopkeepers. Sir, does the position of women was good before this dynasty came to India? Kashish, if you've been with me, can anybody answer the question? Was the position of women better before Delhi Sultanate came through? Relatively, maybe, but not at all. Because they were still excluded, no access to economic resources, no access to education, very superficially anything. So this is called crystallization of patriarchy. It's going to get worse and worse and worse till socialist reform movement is going to come through, because we are the same country which was ready to burn our women on the funerary pyre of our husbands. So somehow that was considered justified or brute or just. Okay. Samistha, that is something which we'll do in art and culture. Yes, that has to be remembered. I'll give you a list of that. Al-Baruni, Minarus Siraj, Ziauddin Barni, I will discuss that. After later Vedic period, yes, they started to lose ground. Anybody, any other issue? Come on. No issues. People were getting rich. Matters from the perspective. Sure, why not? People can get rich by duplicate coins. Yeah, sure. But when value of currency starts to fall, then value of that money also starts to fall. Sati is much older. Ankit, much older. 9th century. Post Gupta, later early medievalish. Okay. Can I talk about the pretext of Vijayanagara Bahamani? Yes? Okay. One chapter Satish Chandra, one chapter from 12th class NCERT. Now, let's try to understand something. So, whilst Muhammad bin Tughlaq was playing games in the northern sector, his policies, one after the other, between 1328 and 1330, will very simply destabilize the empire. And in 1336, two brothers, Harihara and Bukka, are going to establish one of the greatest empires in South India, which is Vijayanagara. And a person called Mahmud Gawan, not Mahmud Gawan, a person called Firoz Shah Bahmani will establish the Bahmani kingdom. The Bahmani kingdom. So very simply, Firoz Shah Bahmani is the one who established it in the real sense. It is a person called Alauddin Hassan or Alauddin Hassan Gangu who actually established this empire. So very simply, by 1347, peninsular India was out of the control of Delhi Sultanate. The Vijayanagara Empire or Vijayanagara state emerged near Hampi or near Vijayanagara, and rather than going northward, it took them 40 years to conquer the southern sector, to reach and fight with the most strongest feudatory at this point of time, which are called Sultans of Madurai. It will take them 40 years to fight with Sultans of Madurai. And by the time they could actually look towards the north, the Bahmanis had actually risen. And there is a perpetual conflict between Bahmani and Vijayanagara over this area, which is called what? This is the same area of Pallava and Chalukya conflict. The Raichur Duab or the Krishna Tungabhadra Duab. So, whilst between 1206 to 1336, we only have Delhi Sultanate. Between 1336 to 1350, we have Delhi Sultanate. We have along with it the Vijayanagara state, and you also have the Bahmanis. So these three polities will therefore constitute India, and we have to discuss Vijayanagara, and within Vijayanagara, we have to just discuss the rulers, their basic political history, the most important system, which is called the Nayankara system, which is very specific to Vijayanagara. Very interesting system, like Ikta, but very interesting. No, they do not come out of the Ikta system. They are local rulers who are always there. They have nothing to do with Ikta. Rather, they are with destabilization of Delhi Sultanate and weakening of core. They are able to rather destroy the Ikta control in this area and establish themselves. So don't think of them as feudatories of Delhi Sultanate. No, they are local powers remaining lying low till Delhi Sultanate is powerful and emerging after Delhi Sultanate becomes weak because of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Make sense? Yes? Yes. Okay. Now, same thing is written down also. During the period of disintegrating or disintegrating Sultanate in North India, due to Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Vijayanagara and Bahmani gave long periods of stability to the Deccan sector. According to the epigraphical evidence, two brothers, Harihara and Bukka, founded the Vijayanagara Empire in 1336. And the Vijayanagara rulers were able to then dominate the Deccan, defeat the very small Gajapati kings, and the rising power basically brought them in conflict with the Sultans of Madurai. Sultans of Madurai, it will take them close to 40 years, 4 decades to basically dominate over the Sultans of Madurai. And by the time they will emerge victorious, they will have the Bahmani kingdom in the north, and therefore, very simply, that will not allow them to become very powerful later. And just the last point I will make before I give you now the break itself is that there are 4 dynasties which ruled the Vijayanagara and Bahmani state. Rather, the Vijayanagara Empire. 4 dynasties for Vijayanagara Empire. Sangama, Suluva, Tuluva, and Arividu. Sasutuar. Sasutuar, 1, 2, 3, 4. And within this, you have till Devraya 1, you have Sangama. This is Suluva. He is along with his successor, the Tulluvas. And Krishna Devaraya is considered one of the greatest rulers of South India. But for that, Devaraya too had to do a change, which we will see after the break. So, before I leave, Sangama, Sulva, Tulva, Arividu, Delhi Sultanate is over. Anybody has any issue? If not, we can take a break. Done? Arividu is the name of the family. Ankit, that's a relative question. From your perspective, which has better policy, ancient or medieval? See, the best administration is Mauryan Empire, centralized. But that level of uh, control is very, very difficult. SUT, this is the acronym. Come on, at least this much. Avni, for me, they are not important. I'm not giving you the names. I've rather only given you Sangama Sulvatulu. I will discuss only the people who matter. Right? These are dynasties. What are dynasties? These are families. These are four families which ruled over the what we call as Vijayanagara sector. Yes, Binita, that is totally your call. You call him a bad king or you call him an intellectual king. Either way, he did a lot of mistakes, and I'm no one to judge him. That is totally your call. Last two rulers of Tulva, again, I don't doesn't matter to me. These are only two important rulers. Achyut Rai, there are multiple Rais after him also. The list of Vijayanagara rulers is very long. I've given you only the important ones. Arividu I've not even shared with you. Okay. So I'll take a break here and we'll meet at 5:30. Right? So we will discuss Vijayanagara, Bahmani, Lodi and Sayyads. That is the agenda which we will discuss. So see you at 5:30. See you.